What's up YouTube? It's the return of your boy Apollo, and I am back here for another video, and I've been doing some research for this one. I got another video talking about Injustice one more time, since the game's coming closer and closer to coming out and they're releasing more and more characters, I started to notice something odd about the characters they were releasing and the way certain characters are portrayed. And I'll get to these specific characters, but to understand this, you need to know about the Injustice comic books, not the one that came out with the game, but the one that came out after it, basically the prequel comics explaining what happened before it. And also, there's spoilers in here if you plan on reading the Injustice comic books. So yeah, if you don't want any spoilers, you might turn this shit off right now, go back, read them. You can go to like Comic Historian or Variant Comics. I'm pretty sure one of them have it, and you can catch up on all the details. But if you don't care for that, or you've already read the comics, then feel free to continue. But I'm going to start with the way a lot of these characters are portrayed, and the simple fact that the Injustice 2 prequel comic is supposedly supposed to start directly after the ending in the game, if you put the story mode for Injustice, the first one. When I found out that, I was sort of confused, especially seeing the release of characters such as Black Canary and Swamp Thing, even further followed by the fact that there's rumors of characters such as Beast Boy and Scarecrow supposedly to be released. Though, as I'm looking, I'm sort of wondering, are these characters going to be in the story mode, or are they just going to be in the game just to be in the game? And usually NetherRealm doesn't do that sort of thing. They usually don't introduce characters that have nothing to do with the story mode at all. They at least appear somewhere, even if it's just for a fight to get the ass kicked and then disappear again. They usually have a role somewhere. But if you look at the role Black Canary and Beast Boy and Scarecrow and Swamp Thing have played, they're dead. And I can talk about their individual deaths, but their deaths happened before the actual story of the first Injustice game. They all died in the prequel comics that led up to the Injustice game. And I'll talk about the individual deaths. Let's start with Black Canary. Now, Black Canary got the death that most heroes in the game got. She was killed by Superman while trying to get revenge for Green Arrow. Her and Green Arrow had got a thing going on. And of course, Green Arrow, being one of the first to be killed by Superman for refusing to join him, he suffered that death. In wanting revenge, Black Canary plotted against him, and in a large rebellious battle, she was killed, even though she came extremely close to killing Superman. She used his super hearing and her sonic voice screeching, whatever you want to call it, against him, so that way he was severely damaged, but he was not successful. Well, she was not successful. I don't want to call her he, but hey, she killed. I think she took like a heat vision to the gut, if I can remember correctly, and she was killed before the game was even released. And she didn't make a comeback either with the actual Injustice game, the same way like Green Arrow made a comeback in the game coming from the main universe to the Injustice universe, but this didn't happen for Black Canary. And I'm wondering, the only way it makes sense for her to even be in Injustice 2 is if she was brought back to life. But there's another way I'm going to talk about once I refer to the deaths of these other characters. Now let's go to Swamp Thing, another character that was actually released into the game. We got his trailer, you've seen his gameplay and etc. But Swamp Thing is supposed to be dead too. So it'd still be confusing if he was in the storyline. Two characters that are supposed to be dead making their appearance in the game and potentially the story mode. I mean, it's very possible that that he's not gonna be in the story mode, and he's, like I said before, a character in the game strictly for gameplay. But then again, if he was in the story mode, it wouldn't make sense because he died being dragged to hell. Kind of like the movie, but not exactly like the movie. They went to hell willingly to let out Trigun to fight Superman, to use all his magical prowess to take out Superman, because Superman has no resistance to magic. But Swamp Thing is a plant, hell is fire. And if you've played anything as simple as Pokemon, you know fire beats plants. And that's just the way things work. But yes, he's supposed to be that. And then we can move on to the rumored characters, Scarecrow and Beast Boy. Both of them also killed before the actual game was released. In fact, if we start with Scarecrow, Scarecrow was killed before Superman was even turned evil. Scarecrow was killed for his fear toxin to use against Superman by the Joker. So Scarecrow got a more of a unique death like Swamp Thing. He wasn't just murdered by Superman like many of the other characters. Though I cannot say the same for Beast Boy. Beast Boy was incinerated by Superman. Another sad death. Killed by Supes, the most OP character in the universe. Poor Beast Boy. I had a tear rolling down my eyes. I had flashbacks of the old Teen Titans series. But it's still possible for Beast Boy to show up in the game if the game is actually a sequel. Though this kind of conflicts with the Injustice 2 prequel comic supposedly coming out, well, starting directly after the Injustice game story mode. But at the same time, a lot of this would make a lot more sense if it was a prequel, because then not only would these characters be alive, they'd also be in the fight and would have a lot of a bigger role within the actual story mode. Black Canary and Swamp Thing were actually extremely important to the rebellion against Superman. Like, they played important roles and they actually made sacrifices when it came down to taking out Superman. Though sadly, they both met a horrible fate and ended up dying for their cause. And Scarecrow didn't really get to do much of anything. Like I said, he was killed by the Joker, not even Superman. Like, the whole event hadn't happened yet. Even Lois Lane was still alive. Superman wasn't crazy yet. He just got killed by the crazy of the Joker. And DC fans and Teen Titans fans, whatever you want to call us, Beast Boy fans have been wanting to see Beast Boy in a game for the longest. Of course, then First Injustice had an opportunity to, but no one really knew what his role in it would be. Thus, in the comics, he's basically killed, and all characters that weren't used in the first Injustice game, where they were and what was happening to them was pretty much explained. But for Beast Boy, his was that he was dead. And of course, I want to see Beast Boy in the game myself, being a Beast Boy fan. But sadly, he's dead. Though if there's some sort of explanation to why he could be alive, the same thing for him and Black and Canary, sort of like the Lazarus pit that Ra's al Ghul had. Because, you know, Damian Wayne's still alive, you could have access to it. Maybe he was brought back by Damian Wayne. Same thing for Swamp Thing and Black Canary. Though it also wouldn't make sense because Damian Wayne is on Superman's side, so who's using the Lazarus pit? That's a potential plot that could be exploited in the game if it is a sequel instead of a prequel. Though they'd have to be stretching a lot of lore, going a lot further. How did they get to the Lazarus pit? How did they get Swamp Thing's body out of hell? Where did they find Black Canary's body? Shit, and Beast Boy, well, I wouldn't say he was completely incinerated, but I'm pretty sure his body's locked in, I think, the Phantom Zone with the other Teen Titans. So how did they get Beast Boy out? It'd be a lot of work just reviving those three. Also with a long list of other characters who are dead as well. And nobody would have a real reason to bring back Scarecrow except for Gorilla Grodd, who I believe he's starting the League of Injustice similar to what he did in the Justice League cartoons. Now, there's two other things that support the idea that Injustice 2 is supposed to be a prequel. If you look at both Damian Wayne and Cyborg, I start with Damian Wayne because his makes more sense. He's Robin in this game, not Nightwing like the first one. He's Robin again. And I know I made a video saying I wanted to see him as Robin with his katana. Yes, which I'm glad I'm getting to see him as. I'm probably going to be playing him a lot. Though odd thing about that is it doesn't make sense for him to revert back to Robin. Reverting back to using the katana again makes sense, but back to Robin makes less sense. If you look at the weapons he's using and like the way he's fighting, that's a lot more like the still working with Batman sort of Robin. I'm not saying he's back on Batman's side, what he could potentially be, though it doesn't make a lot of sense unless we're going back to before he left Batman's side when he was still actually a Robin. That's the only way it makes sense for him to even have the Robin costume back again, unless he broke into the Batcave and stole it. Because if you look at the Injustice comics, Alfred is dead, and I doubt there's anybody around to really guard the Batcave if Batman isn't there himself. And Robin knows the location of it, so he could have potentially broken back in and taken the costume for himself and gone rogue, with Superman basically being on lockdown. And then now that Superman escaped, he's returned back to Superman's side. Though then again, that's still also a stretch. A lot of this would be explained with just the prequel label. And now on to Cyborg. Cyborg's design in Injustice 2, from what we've seen in the leaked videos, look a lot less regime inspired. It looks more like more of the original Cyborg sort of look, the more, should I say, lean and agile look, instead of the bulky and the more terrorizing look that was inspired by the regime's need to instill fear in people. So that's sort of not too much of one, but it's sort of one, sort of an idea that we can kind of go along with for Cyborg. Other than that, I think I'm pretty out of reasons for why this would be a prequel, though I believe this is enough evidence to support that it should be a prequel, though I doubt it is because of where the Injustice 2 comic book starts. Because we all want to know what happens between the first game and this game, sort of how they release comic books for Mortal Kombat, pretty much doing the same thing here. Though I'm pretty excited to see exactly how people got to what they are now, and I'm pretty sure plenty of other people watching this know plenty of other reasons why this should have been a prequel and why it shouldn't be. But we can only wait and find out. This has been Apollo, and I'm out.